Imagine waking up one morning in 2025 and the world is broken. Your phone has no signal. GPS is dead. Credit cards and ATMs don't work. Traffic lights are chaos, flights are grounded, and global shipping is paralyzed. The digital heartbeat of civilization has stopped. This isn't science fiction. It's what happens if satellites vanish. We've built our lives on invisible machines orbiting above us. Silent sentinels guiding our every move. Their signals power our journeys, our transactions, our connections. But what if those signals disappeared? In this scenario, it's not aliens or nature, it's a deliberate attack. An adversary has targeted the satellites that form the nervous system of the modern world. One strike in space and life on Earth unravels. The next global conflict may not start with tanks or missiles, but with a silent loss of signal. Our society is wrapped in a fragile electronic web. In space, our greatest strength, this network, has become our greatest vulnerability. The fight for the high ground isn't about flags on the moon, it's about defending the fabric of life as we know it. The question isn't if this could happen, but how prepared we are if it does. The sky falling silent would change everything. Space is no longer just a frontier for exploration. It's the ultimate high ground. The United States has built an invisible empire in orbit, a vast network of satellites powering its military and economy. GPS, for example, isn't just for directions. It guides missiles, ships, and troops with precision. Satellites provide secure communications, real-time surveillance, and early warning of threats. This orbital infrastructure multiplies American power, giving it unmatched global reach. Without these satellites, the military would lose its edge. Accuracy, communication, and rapid response would all collapse. Space dominance is now the central pillar of U.S. military operations. But it's not just about defense. These satellites underpin trillions in economic activity, from logistics to finance to agriculture. America's leadership in space has translated into leadership on Earth. Yet, every empire attracts challengers. The U.S. must defend this invisible empire, or risk losing its advantage. The battle for space is the battle for the future. Every superpower has a weakness. For the U.S., it's the satellites above us. Our reliance on space is our greatest vulnerability. Most satellites are large, expensive, and follow predictable paths, making them easy targets. Many were built when space was peaceful, not for defense. If a key satellite is destroyed, the impact is immediate. Blind spots in missile detection, lost GPS, severed communications. An adversary doesn't need to match America's network, just deny its use at a critical moment. By disabling a handful of satellites, a rival could neutralize America's technological edge. This is asymmetric warfare, attacking the strong where they're most exposed. The risk isn't just military-civilian life depends on these same systems. An attack on space assets is an attack on the American way of life. Protecting these systems is now a matter of national survival. Our greatest asset has become our Achilles heel. The stakes have never been higher. America's monopoly in space is over. Space is now crowded and contested, with China and Russia leading the charge. Both have developed weapons to challenge U.S. supremacy: direct descent missiles, lasers, and electronic warfare. China and Russia have tested anti-satellite missiles, proving they can destroy critical U.S. satellites. Soft-kill weapons like lasers and microwaves can blind or disable satellites without debris. Electronic warfare, jamming and spoofing, can disrupt communications and navigation. Cyber attacks threaten to hijack or disable satellites remotely. These attacks are hard to trace and can fall below the threshold of open war. The orbital domain is now a battlefield of constant uncertainty. America's rivals are ready to exploit every weakness in space. The threats to space assets are no longer theoretical. China and Russia have made them real. In 2007, China destroyed one of its own satellites, creating a massive debris field and sending a clear message. China now has satellites with robotic arms and co-orbital weapons that can disable others. Russia followed suit, testing its own anti-satellite missile in 2021, endangering the International Space Station. Russia is also a master of electronic warfare, jamming and spoofing GPS across Europe and the Middle East. These aren't isolated incidents, they're part of a strategy to undermine U.S. dominance. Both nations have integrated counter-space operations into their military doctrines. They see America's reliance on space as a vulnerability to exploit. By threatening to blind and deafen the U.S., they hope to deter intervention and assert regional power. The new space race isn't about the moon, it's about controlling the orbits that shape power on Earth. The competition has already begun. The U.S. has been forced to rethink its approach to space security. The old model, few, expensive, undefended satellites, is obsolete. Enter the U.S. Space Force, created in 2019 to focus solely on defending American interests in space. The Space Force consolidates expertise and ensures space defense is a top priority. Technological upgrades are underway, satellites with better maneuverability, shielding and secure communications. Space domain awareness networks now track objects and threats in orbit with unprecedented accuracy. The biggest shift is philosophical, from a few big targets to many small, resilient satellites. Proliferated constellations mean the loss of one doesn't cripple the system. This distributed approach makes attacks less effective and less tempting. The goal, a shield that's not just strong but flexible and redundant. America is preparing to fight for space, and win. Building a resilient space defense is too big for government alone. The private sector, led by companies like SpaceX, has revolutionized access to orbit. Cheaper, frequent launches make vast constellations of satellites possible. The Pentagon is partnering with industry to build the proliferated warfighter space architecture, hundreds, then thousands of small satellites. This hybrid network, part military, part commercial, is harder to attack and easier to replenish. The Space Development Agency is leading the charge, contracting with diverse partners for rapid innovation. This public-private alliance is America's unique advantage. It complicates any adversary's attack plan. How do you target a network spread across companies and missions? By embracing commercial dynamism, the U.S. is building a deeper, more resilient foundation for security and prosperity. The fight for the ultimate high ground is on, and America's new alliance for the stars may decide the outcome.